Howdy friendos, my name is Stuart, and welcome to our alignment video of another popular Jim Carrey character from the 90s, Stanley Ipkiss, aka The Mask. Living in Edge City, Stanley is a meek bank clerk who has a love of the golden age of cartoons. He's taken advantage of by everyone from his landlord, his boss, and his co-workers, and this dude is just used to being walked all over. He might as well have a actual crosswalk sign on him. On one particularly bad day, Stanley's life changes when he comes across a mystical and titular mask. Stanley then puts it on and changes into a godlike being that can do anything he wants, so long as this mask stays on. Oh, and if it's at night, apparently, we'll be covering the first movie, because there's no other movies. There's definitely no other movies in this Mask franchise. Also, I'm not going to be covering the Dark Horse comics, and I would cover the cartoons, but we just don't really have time. Since we'll be covering Stanley at the beginning of the movie, and he's just an everyday working schlub, we'll be starting his alignment at neutral. I know you guys are probably wondering about the modifiers and all that stuff once he puts on the mask, but you'll find out soon enough once we get to the ding-dings. Don't forget to like, comment, ring the bell, subscribe, and ding-dong, and all that good stuff, and mention all the characters you want us to cover. And with that out of the way, let's go.
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem? This is the point. This is how I found you. Let me demonstrate. This is your brain on the box. This is my brain on the box. Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
Meeting our unlucky protagonist, Stanley buys tickets for a coworker thinking it's a date. He is then conned into giving the tickets to her friend. His self-esteem is low, but he does try to help a new customer, Tina, even as people are oogling over her. Lawful good.
I don't have a car. I have to have a car tonight.
Hey, yo! Bring around the loner.
After being scammed by some mechanics, Stanley tries to go to the club with Charlie and some dates to see Tina. Unfortunately, he's unable to get in despite his protests and trying to impress her. Neutral. With his car broken almost as much as his self-esteem, Stanley notices what appears to be a man in the river. He rushes in only to find a strange mask. He then comes home to be yelled at by his landlord before fooling around with the mask. Noticing something odd, Stanley decides to put it on. Everything leading up to that point, neutral good. So, the power of the mask removes all morality and restrictions one would have. I know that some may argue that I should do half dings, as Stanley normally wouldn't do these things, but this won't be the case. The mask is a corrupting force, and then when he stops wearing it, Stanley begins getting more open about his thoughts and feelings, losing his composure regularly. So while I do understand where some would come from, this will be an amplifier like the Raimi symbiote from the Spider-Man videos. Ready for a night on the town, the mask is sure to cause mayhem outside of his landlord's room. When some local thugs come and jump him, the mask is sure to show his godlike powers by threatening to blast them away. Chaotic neutral. Realizing the powers at his fingertips, the mask decides to use it for truth, justice, and he sticks some tailpipes up a shady mechanic's tailpipes. Chaotic evil twice. You just don't do that to a bro. Waking up thinking last night was just a dream, Stanley learns from Detective Calloway that it was indeed real. He lies to Calloway and the local reporter, Peggy Brandt, who are both looking into the mask. Even attempting to throw it away, it doesn't work out. Chaotic neutral. After waking up dreaming about Tina, Stanley notices the mask. And while he's tempted to ignore it, Stanley just can't help himself. Chaotic neutral.
Hold on, sugar. Daddy's got a sweet tooth tonight.
Wanting some sugar from Tina, but light on the dough, the mask robs from his job and causes some mobsters to be caught. He shows up to the club and gets his best friend to let him in.
Perhaps you know them. Franklin, Grant, and Jackson.
Chaotic evil. Enjoying Tina's performance, the mask decides to jump in. He uses his powers to dance away, only to be interrupted by Dorian Tyrell, who is after the money that the mask stole. He toys with Dorian and his men before leaving them to the cops. Chaotic neutral twice.
Ipkiss.
Waking up to Calloway, who found part of Stanley's pajamas at the crime scene, Stanley is forced to lie and hide all the money. Chaotic neutral.
If I have to put up with your slovenly behavior,
Back off, monkey boy! Before I tell your daddy you're running this place like it's your own personal piggy bank.
Coming to work late, Stanley unloads on his boss. He's horrified before he spots Tina and begins to talk. When he realizes she's interested in the mask, Stanley begins to flirt back and promises to set up the meeting with his old friend. Chaotic neutral.
Possibly a representation of one of the Norse night gods. Maybe Loki.
A character we've covered 2 times on our channel. You should really check out Loki in the Loki variants video right now to learn more and find answers about the powers of the mask. You know, pluggity plug plug. Click on those 2 links, please. Meeting with a local psychologist specializing in masks, Stanley tries to figure out more about Loki's mask, hoping to control it for tonight. After confessing he's worried, Stanley tries to go as himself during the date, but is too nervous to go forward with it. Chaotic neutral.
Stanley!
Hello, chérie. Où est mes tagay?
When I play the maracas, I go chick chicky boom, chick chicky boom.
Cornered by Calloway and the police, the mask begins a Nat 20 dance scene. I love this scene. He eventually sambas away, removing the mask in private. Chaotic neutral twice. Saved from the cops by Peggy, Stanley is 100% honest about the mask and its influence. Too bad Peggy sold him out to Dorian Tyrell, who threatens to kill him if he doesn't reveal the truth about the mask and the location of the money. Lawful neutral.
What a rush.
Thrown in jail thanks to Dorian, Stanley admits the truth of his identity to a visiting Tina. He tells her to get out of town, but also learns Tina has grown to love him for who he is and not the mask. Lawful good?
Guard! There's a woman being chased through the alleyway there. Come on! Come on! Serve and protect, man!
Hearing Tina in trouble, Stanley tries to get the cops to help out, but with no luck. Taking matters into his own hands, Stanley escapes his cell with the help of his dog Milo and arms himself. With Calloway at gunpoint, Stanley rushes to stop Dorian. Chaotic good. Stanley enters the club, leaving Calloway with a radio to call for backup. Rescuing his friend to help the civilians get out of the club, Stanley is ready to confront, only to be caught immediately. With the intervention of Milo and Tina, Stanley fights Dorian until he can get the mask. Lawful good. Powered up again, the mask mops the floor with the mobsters and Dorian. He handles the bomb, but chooses to depower himself for Tina. Lawful good twice.
Police, hands up!
With the day saved and acquitted thanks to Dorian wearing the mask, Stanley decides to get rid of the mask for good, tossing it into the river where it will join other cursed 90s artifacts like Jumanji. Stanley is ready to live his life with Tina. Neutral.
Okay.
So, I know I'm gonna be straw manning for a second, but after watching this movie, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a bunch of bad faith journalists in the near future saying that Stanley and the masks were some kind of incel self-insert fantasy. Stanley describes himself in the movie as a nice guy, and then he finds an artifact that gets him to fulfill a whole bunch of wacky fantasies where he gets vague and goofy revenge on everyone that's wronged him. He then commits crimes, yells at his boss, gets the girl, and faces almost no consequences for his actions since, conveniently, there is a much more evil person in play. Like, that happened, kinda, for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and then that movie turned out to be more about mental health and the abuse of the upper class to the lower classes. But anyway, I'm going to stop there since I don't really want to give the impression that I'm defending incels or anything like that. But I feel like if anyone looks at this movie again in the future, I feel like this is going to be a take that a lot of people have. And for sure, Stanley has a few red flag qualities, but I would say that if you want to take a look at this again, because that's what we're doing with these videos, you should take away 2 lessons, I guess. 1, Stanley's personality really didn't change in this movie. He just learned to relax when the situation called for it, and he learned to stand up for himself when it was appropriate. So, there. Like, if you have poor social calibration... God, it's... Why did I take this take? And 2, 100% of Stanley's problems were caused when he took his mask persona too far. Mostly when he robbed a bank and he was acting chaotic horny. So, yeah, no, Stanley definitely was punished for some bad behaviors, but, you know, whatever. Honestly, this movie should not be even thought of this hard. I'm just doing it because I'm the alignment guy and I have to give some sort of takeaway. It's a comedy, and the selling point of this comedy is 100% Jim Carrey acting like a goofball and just being really charming and being himself. But if you guys see bad faith articles in the future talking about this film when the inevitable reboot comes out, because believe me, there's going to be a reboot in the future, be sure to comment and tell these people to come to this video, because that's so not what this film is about. It's funny. Chicky boom, chicky boom. It's just a good movie, guys. I'll just thank you to the patrons, and I'll see you next time. I'm so getting canceled for this.